What's up, everyone? Dave again, back to finish up these termites. So, when I left you before, I was waiting on the decals to dry. They're dry now. I've waited a good little while for them to finish up. So now I'm going to go ahead and rock into the other stages of these things. So I'm going to go ahead and put a dull coat slash flat coat by Minutair Air over top of these models. Now I've sealed them with the Future Floor Shine, and then I did the decals. Now the decals are dried. We're ready to go on to the next stage, and that's where we are right now. Next stage. So we'll go ahead and load up some dull coats, flat coat I should say, by Minutair Air, and bring the shine down. Go ahead with the decals. Get everything else. Bring it back down some levels. Too shiny. I'm gonna put my mask on for this one. It's fogging up in here.
Woo! Sorry, I had to put my mask on. You might not be able to hear me, but
Whew! Sorry. I had to put the mask on for that one because it was fogging up pretty damn good. As you can probably see with a little bit of haze there. I got fans on, but it's just, it'll take a second for that to move on out of the way. Alright, so I brought it back down. As you can see, the lines have disappeared from the decals. So once this stuff dries, you can almost see it. It makes the decals look like they were painted on, which is what we want. So now that that's done doing its thing, we'll let these dry a little bit. Still a little shiny there. I'll go over it with some matte varnish from MIG. Still got a little bit of shine. I haven't used that men's hair stuff in a while, so if we're gonna try it out, but didn't tone it down enough, so break the MIG out. The MIG will do it. Oh yeah. That brought it way down. That took care of it. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Get this second one. Should be good after this. A little bit more. All right. That rips all the shine off of them. Gets them down to where we want them to be. Give it a second, let that clear out. All right. Again, you can see that the decals look painted on almost. Got rid of every bit of the outline from the decals. Made them look like they were always meant to look like that. Okay. So let that flash over for a sec. Let that get itself settled in a little bit more. And then we will move on to the next stage. And by next stage, I mean the beginning processes of the weathering. We get some fabric. Got an old t-shirt I got cut up and I'm using for a rag. Cut some off. I will be adding some AK Interactive streaking grime to these. And that's just to get the weathering like I like it. Just the starting processes of the weathering. Okay. All right. This stuff, seriously want to wear a mask. So if you're messing with streaking grime, this stuff, you don't really want to be breathing it in by itself. But the trick is with streak and grime is I reduce it down. I don't use it straight out of the bottle through my airbrush. I reduce it down with mineral spirits. That's the shit you don't want to be breathing that's being atomized. All right, I got it down fairly good. I go, to do it 50-50 is good, but there's a little bit more room left in the bottom whenever you put mineral spirits in there, so you're doing more. There's still a little bit more reducer than there is streak and grime, which is it's not a big deal. I don't like putting this stuff on straight as it is super thick. All right, I'm gonna get my mask on. You're gonna notice I'm gonna spray it in an area. Once I spray it, and then I'll wipe off and leave that in the recesses. Then I'll move on to another area and spray that. I have to do this process before I move on to the weathering powders.
I've got my mask on now, so I'll be a little muffled for a good reason. Because I like my lungs, and I would like to continue to use them. Alrighty. You'll notice that I spray on a little bit, but I'll wipe it off. It's not really going on that heavy because I've reduced it so much. It's just helping blend the colors. It's going to help blend the red into the black on the edge, and then it's going to dirty up our metallics like I like it. Now we're going to brighten this back up, so just bringing it down, and then we'll build it back up. So keep that in mind. We're just going for that dirty, funky look. Get some in there as well. Will help tone down the inside. So it's not so bright. So that's all the way around. We brought our color down. It was dark before. Wasn't super bright, but now we've brought it way down where I want it. And then we can bring it back up gradually at our pace. Pour excess back in here, save it for later. Still going to leave the mask on because now I got to clean the brush out. We're pretty much done with streak and dry. It's just one process and many steps of bringing this model to the look that we really want. Now I'm going to burn out some of this damn streak and grime. Clean her out with some mineral spirits. Again, this is something you don't want to breathe atomize. So wearing a respirator and ventilating the area is a must.
All right. Now it stinks like hell in here, but I'm done with that. That process is over. Now, all that was just a filter. We brought the model down and made it darker, gave it the grim dark look. I use streak and grime a lot. I have to limit myself in how much I use it because I don't want to use it too damn much. But for the look that I go for and the look that I like to achieve, streak and grime is something I use a lot. So I'm going to give that a few seconds to dry, maybe help speed the process up, and then we will move on to our scratching and chipping. Now, I'm going to use my method. My method involves a sponge. So we're going to be sponging. And my favorite place to get sponges from, battle foam. Oh, if you bought much battle foam in the past, if you bought any custom battle foam, and then you told them to leave the inserts in there, what they cut out, that's the part that I like to use the most. I've got a big ass chunk that I use pretty regularly. In a second, I'll go over here and grab it. All right, now this piece of foam is this used to be like where they cut out for a bane blade and the battle foam. So I'll just grab a piece of it. You know, it's hair and all kinds of bullshit in here. But I'll grab a piece of it like this and just tear it. It doesn't have to be flat. It doesn't have to be uniform. You know, we're just going for a good smooth piece there. So I will go right to a really bright metal color. It's my go-to color. It's a Model Air, and it's aluminum. 71.062 or aluminium, or however the hell y'all pronounce it over in the UK. And we'll just do some streaking. Put it on my table mat here. Get some. I pretty much treat it just like dry brushing, because you're going to want to load paint up on the foam, and you're going to want to get rid of the excess. Just drag it down there. you don't want to go straight from that because it's too much paint. Now, we'll just take it, come in here, and hit all the highlights. Because this is all scratching. This is not going to be rusted. This is going to be polished and shiny because it's drilling through the damn earth. So it's going to be something that's going to be polished. And that's whenever I did my first one, that's what I envisioned. So the bit is going to be polished. The tracks are going to be kind of polished. Now let's pull that back. Let's get this out of here. Do them one at a time so you can see what I'm doing. So come in here and do this. Get them all nice and worked up. I'll hit all the metal parts first, then I'll come back for any other areas. Because we're obviously going to chip other areas up as well, because let's face it, this damn thing's moving through the earth. Anything that's going to have paint on it's likely going to be susceptible to dragging and ripping the paint off. But there you go. That's the first little bit. Now let's move on to scratching up of the painted surfaces, the wearing of the paint, because anything that moves through the earth, it's going to be polished. It's not going to have a whole lot of rust. It's going to be more polished than anything. So I'm going to go for the sharp edges, and I'm just going to drag it really fast because it's going to be motion of dragging, ripping, catching on stuff. See the streaking, see the natural streaking. That's what we want. Because this thing's moving through the earth. It's not hanging out anywhere. It's drilling. Now these, I'm gonna wear the edges out a little, beat them up a little bit. Give it some, yeah, that looks awesome. And I've went all the way around it. Now I'm gonna keep it kind of light. This is, I mean, looking at it in the light, it's gonna reflect. This is such a bright metal. It's very reflective in the light, or as far as like the camera and stuff goes. But in person, it's not as bright as it's reflecting to be. What you see in the light, it's not that bright. It's still pretty dark. Let's go ahead and get a little bit inside. Put some wear right there on the edge. Okay, they're going to be climbing out there. So that's pretty much all we need to do on that. We'll be on to the powders next. All right, so back over to, whoa, shot out there. Well, let's get a little on there. There's a lot on here. All right, let's start by on the tracks. Move on to the drill bit. You guys have ever do research drill bits or bores? You'll see that these things are actually pretty shiny because they're constantly being used, constantly moving through the earth, so they're polishing. So, like I said, go after all the metal areas first. Come back after anything else afterwards. These. Now, we'll get a little bit more on here, and we'll work the surface just like we did the other. So just real fast, not much pressure. I'm not pushing down. I'm more so just letting it drag across. I'm like zero pressure, really. I'm not pushing down on it. Or just do like normal sponging. And those doors. Again, just look at it like it's dragging, it's ripping, it's tearing. And there we have it. So now we've got all of our scratching, we've got our filter on to help tie the blend colors together. Now we're ready to do some weathering powders. My favorite pot. All right, so there's going to be a lot of dirt and dust and grime and all that jazz, mainly around this area up here. So I'm going to get a decent sized brush, and of course the one I want is freaking thin wet. Let's go ahead and get all of the water out of it. All right, I'm going to make a wash with the secret weapon powders. All right, so we're going to need our isopropyl alcohol because it dries fast. We're going to start off with Dark Earth from Secret Weapon. And load a little bit in there. Like I said, we're trying to create a wash, but we don't want it to be too thick. Now the isopropyl will get it where we want it and let it make it stay when it dries. So just work it in there on the tracks. Look at like where this stuff would, where dirt and grime would build up. We'll go in certain areas of this dude and just get it to build up. Now the isopropyl alcohol will dry really fast and it will leave behind our pigment. I'm going to do this 2 different ways. I wanted to try out other weathering powder, so I'm doing this way just to try it out. Because remember, I wanted to try out the metallic iron. So I'm going to dirty up the tracks really good on this one. That way I could try out the metallic iron and see how it goes. Last track. All right. You'll notice it's drying up pretty good. It's drying where we want it to dry up here. We'll go ahead and speed the process up because alcohol will dry pretty fast. Got some nice splatter effect there. I don't know if you can see it. It's not hard to see it. Welding powder might be a little bit too dark because it blends in with the color red of the damn mechanical. So I'll probably won't do this the same on the other one. All right. Now I want to bring in some terracotta earth. It's a little brighter. Just put it in places. Put it where the other weathering powder went. I like bringing it up. Now, since we use the isopropyl alcohol on the other, we won't need a pigment fixer, but I'm just throwing this on normal. So I'll hit it with a pigment fixer. I'm not aiming for a Martian look. I'm actually going to jump in. Actually going to jump in once I find where the hell I put it. Where did I put it? Ah, there they are. The things that you're not going to be able to buy much longer if they haven't already discontinued. Forge World weathering powders. I'm going to go ahead and throw some light earth on. I use several different shades of weathering powder just because dust and dirt and all that isn't uniform. It all looks different. Get it all in there. Just put it sporadically around these tracks. I'm going to come back in here with that other weathering powder. That's okay to get this all over it. Because let's face it, I mean, this thing's going to have dirt and dust and shit all over it from coming up through the dirty earth. Just kind of go here, there, and everywhere with it. It won't hurt. Definitely put some right there, like to track it in. There, it's all nice and dirty. Now, when I hit it with a pigment fixer, we'll take some of the brightness out of it. It will tone a lot of the powders down, which is fine. That's what we need it to do. As you can see, it's pretty well all over the damn place. All right, now I need to clean this other brush out because I need this other brush for this metallic iron weathering powder. All right, so this, in theory, should bring back the metal out of on the tracks. Since we got all kinds of weathering powder all over it, now we're going to take this and bring our metal finish back to our tracks. See how well it does. Yeah. And it's doing just that. Perfect. That's the first time I've ever used this. I picked it up at Adepticon because it looked like something I should buy. I'm glad I did. Definitely get some mileage out of this stuff. Now I am throwing a lot of weathering powders on this model. For good reason. I mean, this damn thing shoots up out of the ground. Should have a lot of weathering powders on it. Now I'm mixing this in over on top of the areas I've put other weathering powder. It's totally fine. What we want. This stuff is working really well. And I have got that one pretty much where it needs to be. So, with that being said, time to throw weathering powder pigment fixer all over it. Because I've got the stuff that I put on with isopropyl, it's pretty well set. But all this other weathering powder I need to get set. So I'm just going to dab on Secret Weapon Pigment Fixer wherever I got weathering powders. That will not only tone it down and make it where it's not so damn bright, it will get it to adhere, and we don't have to worry about it coming off. I'm just dabbing it. I'm not brushing it. Not doing anything other than dabbing it on. And this is how I put weathering powder pigment fixer. This is how I do weathering powders, period. I'll put them on, and then I'll come back and hit them with a pigment fixer. Now, once these dry, I'll assess the way the bit looks. If I don't think the bit looks like it's got enough metallic to it, then I will bring the metallic up on it. I'll throw some more of the metallic iron on there, and if that doesn't work, then I will sponge it, a really light sponge, just to hit all the highlights. But it's pretty dirty and mean looking, like I wanted. Now it's time to move on to the next one, which will be jumping back. This time I'm going to leave that alone. We're going to start with our dark earth. Go ahead and get that worked in there. You notice I'm looking more for areas where it makes sense for dirt and dust to build up. Instead, it's not going to be completely covered just because It wouldn't make sense. And then we'll add in some of the Forge World. I've already had some of it on the table. I'll just mix it with I'll mix the Forge World with the Dark Earth. Work it all around. Getting about there. There. Now I will throw a little bit more light earth on there. Just straight light earth where it's not mixed. And then go back to the tracks with this metallic iron. I think this stuff is going to be really king shit, man. If you haven't picked up any of this metallic iron, you will find a use for it. Might as well go ahead and get you some. I think this stuff works really well. Hell, you can get away with just leaving the tracks black, doing your weathering, and then coming back with this metallic iron here and putting it on last to bring your track, and bring the metal up in the tracks. And I think that would work really well. All right, now time for bring it all back down with the pigment fixer. Remember, I'm just dabbing this stuff on. I'm not doing much else with it, just dabbing it in place. I want the pigment that I've got on to stay where it's at. And there we have it. I'll let those bad boys dry. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to complete them because I'm going to have to wait on the magnets for the guns. But you've seen now how I use weathering powders. That's pretty much how I apply weathering powders. Once the pigment fixture dries, it looks way better. Like loads better. Try to speed up the process. I don't have a hair dryer out here. A hair dryer would definitely expedite the process pretty quick. Trying to get it to speed up. Probably end up having to throw another highlight of the metal on there. I'm not sure just yet. We also got to do the metal burn on the end of these Melta Magnum, whatever the hell they are, Magna Lancers or whatever the shit they are. I have to do some work on them. But that is pretty much as far as I could take them until, I mean, like I said, I'll do the heat transfer on the end of these Magna Lances here. Basically, giant melta guns on the end of this damn thing. But it's about as far as I can go after I do that. You can see. Looks freaking cool. Wish it'd hurry the hell up and dry already. Yeah, I'm going to take a little bit. Take one more highlight with this bright ass aluminum. Only in spots, not like I have to do the whole models. It's pretty much only in spots, just to bring the highlights back up. Yeah, she's pretty much done on all the streaking. Chipping, I should say. A fair amount of chipping. Bring this back up. There we go. By God, I think we're good. Now they do have to dry, and for that, it's going to take some time. Don't think I can speed that process up anymore. But I do feel that I've weathered the shit out of the front of these things. Anywhere that I think dust would build up is where I put it. But I think that's it. I think I'm back at a standstill again. There we go. So now you guys have seen how I do weathering. It's not that hard, and you don't have to be precise with it. It's something you can be very messy with, and it's very forgiving. Let me flip these jokers up where they look about half-assed correct. All right. So you can see in there, I mean, I'm hoping the video catches it, but I tried to keep the tip and the bits themselves nice and shiny, and then all the recesses and cracks I try to just keep full of dirt and grime, just because it makes sense for it to be that way. Didn't do much weathering back here. I did some weathering on the insides. Definitely chipped and scraped and scratched the paint up. But the weathering powders went on like a breeze. The metallic iron weathering powder, it's pretty much worth its weight in what I paid for it. Shit works pretty good. It's good for the tracks. It's good to bring the tracks back up. If you do a heavy isopropyl alcohol weathering powder wash, then once that dries, you can bring it back up with metallic iron and bring the tracks back up and make them look natural. So I recommend you pick that up if you're using secret weapon powders and you haven't picked that one up. I recommend it. I've only used it just now, and it's fucking awesome. So we will go ahead and close it down. Like I said, now unfortunately I'm at a point where I'm going to have to wait on magnets, and I'll be able to do the heat transfer on the end of the melted guns because that's pretty easy. I've showed that before, I believe. But that's where I'm at, guys. Thanks for checking it out, and we will catch you on the flip side, where the next one will be gold for custodes. See y'all later, guys. Thanks for watching.